Hi, tonight we are having pizza for dinner. I'm going to show you how to make the dough. Many of you have seen me make the pizza before, but I don't know if you've seen how to make the dough because I get questions all the time. Julie, what's your pizza recipe, pizza dough recipe? You're not going to believe how simple this is. It's water, flour, yeast, and salt, and that's it. I mean, there's actually a cookbook called that out there somewhere. This is based on a recipe from Artisan Bread in 5 minutes a day. It's my go-to for lots of things, and it's what I'm gonna do for pizza crust tonight. So I've got 3 cups of all-purpose flour. I'm partial to King Arthur unbleached. I feel like it's consistently great, so that's what I'm gonna use. And I'm gonna add 1.5 teaspoons of active dry yeast. I prefer to buy it in a jar. I know sometimes it's hard to find right now, but in a jar I can get exactly what I need. Packets have 2.25 teaspoons. I only need 1.5 teaspoons, so by using a jar I'm not going to have any waste. I'm also going to get the same amount of kosher salt. If you don't have kosher salt, you can probably just use some regular salt. I like kosher salt for this. And then you're just going to mix it up. Pretty simple, right? I like to stir it before I add the water because I want the salt, yeast, and the flour to be all mixed up. Now, if you want to make an herbed crust, this is when you could add a tablespoon of Italian seasoning if you want, and that'll give some nice flavor too. Okay, just 1.5 cups of water. Shouldn't be hot, shouldn't be cold, just get it out of the tap. That's it. So I'm just gonna mix it up until it all comes together. You don't have to knead this dough. That's the whole idea of that book, Artisan Bread in 5 minutes a day. They're all no knead recipes. So you just mix up your ingredients and they just sit and they get all perfect. So you're just gonna stir it up until all the flour is incorporated. If you measure just a touch too much flour, just add a little more water to it, but it should kind of look like this. So it's all coming together. You don't have to knead it, but you should not see any dry bits on the bottom. Okay, that's it. So we're just gonna cover it up and let it sit on the counter for 2 hours. So if you work outside of the home and you're thinking, well, I can never pull this off on a weeknight, it takes too long. Mix up your dough after dinner one night with the intention of using it later in the week. So once you mix it up and it sits for 2 hours, you can either make it into pizza crust or you can pop it in the fridge and then use it over the course of a week. The older the dough is, the more sourdough flavorish it's going to have. So I actually prefer to mix it up and use it that same day, but that's the hint. If you don't have a lot of time, mix it up after dinner, let it do its 2-hour rise and pop it in the fridge and use it on a different day. I already have 1 pizza in the oven, so you'll see the final process. So this is just half of that dough. So the dough that you're gonna make, if you're making the scratch kind, is really wet. So you're gonna use plenty of flour on your hands and on your mat. I'm using our baker's mat here that is silicone and grips well. So you wanna make sure you've got some flour on your hands, and I'm gonna show you the first secret. So you wanna take the dough and fold it under itself. And you'll notice, I'm kind of dipping more flour on there, you'll notice it starts to become smooth over the top. And that's what you want. If I didn't do this step and tried to roll it all out, it would probably tear. And that would make for a difficult crust to work with. So just make sure there's plenty of flour on both sides, and then take your baker's roller. Now if you're new to baking, the trick is to roll from the inside out. So my roller is never going straight back and forth. You can do that with sugar cookie dough, but you really shouldn't do that with this kind of dough. So I'm just gonna roll it out. Now, if you've had your dough in the fridge overnight, you wanna let it sit out for a little bit before you roll it out. Otherwise, you're gonna find that your dough shrinks. So let's say you're using like a frozen bread dough that you got at the grocery store, same thing. Let it sit out for a bit, and then you'll be good.